So good morning to everybody, and thank you for being here today to discuss and exchange on media literacy. As you know, the webinar is organized in the framework of the UNESCO Global Media and Information Literacy Week. This year, the week runs from the 24th of October till next Monday, so till the 31st. And before giving the floor to our speakers, I would just remember that the webinar is recorded, and if you have any questions or comments to the speakers, please use the chat. And so I give the floor to Marcello Scalisi, the director of EUMEPLAT.
Thank you, Natalie. Good morning to all of us. Good morning to all our participants and our speakers. It's a pleasure to introduce this session. As you know, EUMEPLAT is active in many fields of academic cooperation, and one of these fields is journalism and media. As you know, EUMEPLAT is a network of universities. We have 150 members from 24 countries, and in this period we have a very intense agenda because we are organizing this webinar today, but next week we will have also the Mediterranean Student Summit that we are organizing in Barcelona, inviting students to talk about the university that they have in mind. And in 3 weeks, we will organize the EUMEPLAT Week in Brussels, which is another large, important event where we will meet the European Commission department in charge of Euro-Mediterranean cooperation. All this to say that to have conversation on at academic level, but also with our counterpart in institutions is extremely important, not only to share ideas, but also to pass the right message about what means Euro-Mediterranean cooperation and dialogue among different countries and academic sectors. The EUMEPLAT project, where we are today discussing, is one of our projects where EUMEPLAT is involved as partners. The project is led by Yom from Iran, and we have with us Econi, is one of our projects discussing about media and journalism. Why EUMEPLAT is involved in media and journalism project? It's a long experience in some way. We started some years ago with a Tunisian project called EMedia. The idea is to invite academics from both sides of the Mediterranean to talk about the importance of freedom of journalism and also to improve capacity of professionals in this perspective. And looking at the current situation, this was also very common after 2011, for instance, the importance of the role of media and journalism against disinformation, against bad propaganda, against the fake news is extremely important. This is the reason why it is the main goal of EUMEPLAT to combine academics and journalism sector to fight against all this is absolutely mandatory. In particular, in the concept that we are working on in EUMEPLAT about Europeanization. This is also quite important for the Mediterranean society, the Euro-Mediterranean society, and to pass the right message in our European dimension, what's happening in Southern Mediterranean countries, Southern Mediterranean society, and vice versa, of course. Another important topic of this session today is about storytelling. This in particular extremely important for us. We need discussing about our cooperation with the Arab world. We need a positive storytelling. The message that unfortunately passes very often is not so good for several reasons. For sure, the instability, the political instability of some of our countries is there. We have obviously, we can do nothing in particular to that. But I think that the role of EUMEPLAT is to support mutual understanding, and the cultural relation between the two shores of the Mediterranean and beyond, which remain until now, still now, a very important big gap that we are still facing. Independently by all the activities that we do at international level in terms of international cooperation, and we need to advertise the richness, the diversities, the similarities of the region, and in some way also to invite our youth to consider this richness as an opportunity, of course, our diversity as an opportunity and not as. And I think that's not only my thinking, but it's for sure. Audiovisual platforms and media products are the most powerful tool to improve the knowledge that we need among us. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. I will be with you during the webinar, and I wish you a very successful webinar.
Thank you, Marcello. So now I give the floor to Andrea Miconi, which is a professor at ULM. He is the coordinator and principal investigator of the EUMEPLAT project, and he's also a member of the subnetwork on journalism, subnetwork of UNIMED. Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm trying to show the presentation. Can you see it? No.
Yes, presentation mode. Great.
Okay. Thank you, Natalie, and thank you to UNESCO, to the UNESCO environment for giving us this opportunity. We don't have much time, so in short, I will not go into the details of methodology and, well, theoretical issues. I will provide an overview of 3 or 4 projects that are all related to information, journalism, disinformation, and media literacy, even though to a different extent. Is it working? Okay, those are the names of the project. Maybe I will say a very few words about the 4th one, because, well, we will kick off next week in Rome. So basically we are at the very beginning. We are before the beginning. And as Marcello was saying, it all began in 2013 with the media project, which was coordinated by UNIMED. Then we had, and we still have, the Pages project, which is an Erasmus Plus capacity building project. And we have a more, well, on the scientific side, we have an Horizon 2020 project on European media platforms. In the last 2 cases, we are the coordinator as ULM University, while UNIMED is the coordinator also of the CLIP project. So we have a good balance over there. I will start with the media project. And the media project was, okay, that was the theme. And the goal of the project was to design and set up a professional master in cross-media journalism in 3 universities in Tunisia, which were the Tunisi La Manouba, SUS, and Sfax. By the way, we have a former student and colleague of former student of that master from SUS, Amira, which will say something later on during this day. The experience of the media was, I will not take any credit for this because, well, it was the UNIMED project manager, Cristina Stefanelli, but the result was very good. And I have to say the experience of working there in Tunisia started in 2013. So after the fall of Ben Ali, and in a very specific historical moment, was really inspiring. There was the feeling of a good opportunity, and obviously with all the limitations of a single cooperation project, I think we have done, and UNIMED has done a very important contribution there. Also to civic society, because the syndicate was included, and because the master was eventually set up, implemented, and if I remember well, they had 4 editions of the masters, and they got the authorization for 4 more years from the ministry, which is what we usually refer to as the so-called sustainability of the project. No? What will remain after the end of the project? The results were so good that based on this, we decided to make an experiment in a border country, which is Libya. And the Pages project is about the implementation of a journalism master program in 4 Libyan universities: Tripoli, Zawiya, Misurata, and Sirte. This slide obviously reminds us of which kind of the situation they have in Libya. This is the most common, the most frequently used Free Press Index from Reporters Sans Frontières, and Libya ranks 143 out of 180. Besides that, we know that the situation is very complicated. And working in Libya has been really complicated due to the second wave of the war, and then the lockdown, and the COVID-19, and the embargo. It was terribly complicated, but what we can say is that thanks to the commitment and collaboration of our partners, which are, where are they? Which are UNIMED, 3 European universities, Aveiro in Portugal, Granada in Spain, Sapienza here in Rome, and more so in the cases of the 4 Libyan partners. I have to say, commitment of the partners has been great. And results have been great because I'll show only this document, we basically completed the project, all the tasks, despite the difficulties I was mentioning, and you can easily imagine. So, first of all, we completed the research stage by means of a participatory method. All partners have contributed to that with review of scientific literature, selection of best practices, and interviews to experts in both the north and the south shore of the Mediterranean. Also looking for what Marcello was mentioning, I totally agree with that part. We really need a common narrative, and it's not easy. Then after that, we got another relevant achievement, which was the design and the approval of the master. This is the official letter from the accreditation center at the education ministry in Tripoli. And the good part is that we implemented the so-called Bologna process, which is the 120 ECTS formula for second level degrees and professional masters. So that was good. The very difficult part has been this one. You have no idea how complicated it might be to buy and to ship equipment to Libya in this specific situation, but I will skip this part because that would be boring. But by and large, we have successfully completed all the tasks, including the training of professors, which was expected to be in presence. Then, due to travel limitations, travel bans, we have a strong part of that online, and then a final session of on-site training hosted by Sapienza University last summer. By the way, these materials we have in our e-learning space, coordinated by, again, Cristina Stefanelli from UNIMED, is very rich. So this is something. This is a good starting point for sharing documents and reflections about cross-media journalism. Practically speaking, the last thing we have to do is the training of the students, which should be in November in Rome and Milan. Their study visit, we have some complications with the visa procedures, as you can easily imagine, but we are almost there. And this will be the very last part of this project. I'm very satisfied, and I think that from such a critical country as Libya is in the last years, we really had a good experience and the indications that there is a big request of collaboration, internationalization, and this is something I think we have to consider and we have to work on also in the next years after the end of the project. I have to say, from my experience, commitment and investment on the part of Libyan universities has been really great, and this is really good. So I will, okay, this is the training in Sapienza in Rome with a few selected professors teaching in the master courses in the Libyan universities. I will, a few words about a different project. This is an Horizon project. Where I'm personally the principal investigator. In this case, we are no longer talking about North-South. We are talking about Europe and European identity, because the call was about media landscapes and Europeanization. By and large, the idea is to reflect on what makes Europeans properly European, which is the relation between the media platform we use, including a news platform. We have a whole work package about journalism and citizen journalism, and European identity, which means is it common for us to have the common narrative I was mentioning before? Is it common for us for Italians to know what's going on in, I don't know, in Portuguese cultural industry? Miguel Crespo is a colleague from ISTE. By the way, they lead the work package dedicated to journalism, fake news, and citizen journalism. So this is the idea, which is the relation between media platforms and European culture. Is that common for us to watch movies, to listen to songs which come from another European country? And this is the team. We have 12 partners. UNIMED is with us, and they are in charge for the dissemination work package, which in this project is quite complicated because it's a huge affair. So I will have to thank Natalie Crotet, which is in charge for that, and she's doing a great job. We are working in 10 partners in 10 countries. So the idea is basically to compare first-hand data and secondary data coming from these 10 different countries: Italy, Germany, Bulgaria, Spain, Belgium, Turkey, Greece, Portugal, Sweden, and Czech Republic. So we have a good geographical balance: East, South, North, and West. And we also have a non-EU country, which is Turkey, the University of Bilkent in Ankara. And we are very curious about what's happening there, because Turkey is a big country, a 90 million people media market pushing at European borders, and we don't know anything about them. So I'm really, I have a particular interest in that. So the idea is to compare. In this case, we are not talking about knowledge transfer. We are not talking about capacity building. We are talking about scientific results. But still, as to journalism, scientific results the Portuguese team is collecting the national reports, and they will produce an aggregate analysis of what's going on in terms of citizen journalism in the 10 European countries. And based on that, we will have to provide the funding institution with, let's say, policy indications, because this is a research and innovation project, and the difference when compared to a pure research project is that you are expected to also come out with some concrete indications. For instance, about how to fight fake news, or for instance, about how to support public service media, and blah, 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 and this kind of issues. We already had a policy roundtable organized by, the European Commission itself in Brussels. It was, I have to say, it was so-and-so, because in my opinion, it was too early for having concrete indications, because the project will end at the beginning of 2024, and we need the results for providing indications. But so far, this is us. But so far, the results are good. We have completed the first work package, which was about, let's say, advanced historical analysis of media systems in Europe. The Work Package 1 book is coming out, and we are halfway with the Work Package 2 and 3. So what is important, we had a first review period, which was year 1, and we had also the meeting about that with both the European Commission officers and the external referees, and the results were good, I have to say. So no main remarks. So we had to make some small changes, which is pretty normal. So far so good. A few words, but really a few words about this. This is a small project. Will be led by Cristina Stefanelli on behalf of UNIMED as well. Where are the partners? It's a small project, 18 months, 4 partners. We have an university in Greece and a market partner which is based in Brussels. And the idea is to focus on a very specific thing, which is not media literacy, which is obviously the general backdrop, but on critical visual media literacy. Because what is pretty evident to us is the importance of visual communication. This has to do with platformization, obviously. This has to do with Instagram, with TikTok, and with YouTube, and partially also with Facebook. Visual contents are the most impactful form of communication, and it's very difficult to have and to transmit competencies and skills for interpreting visual contents, because obviously it's easier to analyze and to critically analyze a verbal content than it is to do the same with images. This is difficult, and our idea is exactly to try to set up a sort of critical model to be shared and then to be used, hopefully, for a wider application in terms of media literacy in my university, in other universities, and perhaps hopefully so in the UNIMED network. We also had a first talk with Alphanar Media back there in Amman during the UNIMED General Assembly. So this is also an open call for cooperation, because beyond the limits of this project, we are very interested in having new friends, colleagues, and projects. So please get in touch with us. Natalie, thank you. I think I'm done and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Andrea. So as Andrea was mentioning, we have a special guest here. It's Amina. She's one of our colleagues here in UNIMED, but she was a student of the eMedia Master. So we consider it important to hear a bit about her experience as a student. Amina, please.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. So as Natalie presented, my name is Amina Hmila, and I am a former student of the eMedia project. And actually, I was in the first promotion of the master that started in 2015. And I graduated in 2017. I was the first one to deliver my thesis. I was really into the course, so I wanted to finish everything in a timely manner. To speak about the cross-media journalism in Tunisia, it was very challenging indeed, because we came all from different disciplines. We were, since it's a cooperation master, we were 3 universities, University of Sfax, Sousse, and Tunis. And in Tunisia, we have only one leading university of journalism, which is based in Tunis. So the challenge was to give a new perspective to students from different disciplines away from the IPSI, the University of Journalism, and somehow it was more successful actually in the other disciplines than the University of Journalism itself, because it shows that media, communication, and these aspects can be further implemented with students that have different disciplines and that can take it further into a more broader dimension, let's say. So as I mentioned, at the presidency of the government, the cross-media journalism, I think the key word about it is that it paves the way, literally. It's a new discipline, it's true, but it paves the way for new perspectives, for new opportunities, for new fields if the student knows what he wants. In my case, I speak about me. I came from a background of English literature, so it's totally different. But I found it that really helped me even in my previous studies to understand more communication. And to be honest, I believe that communication, journalism, and media are the core of every other discipline. So it doesn't matter where you come from. If you have an interest, if you have a passion to learn, you will find yourself anywhere. And this is what the cross media did in my case. So it gives me new notions to understand, to look for, to Google. And that was very interesting. So I think it's very important to have this kind of cooperation, because sometimes as a student or even as an individual, you don't, it's media, what am I going to do in media if I'm reading literature, for example? But then you find that it's very important. And even your perspective changes. When you read an article, it changes. When you are on Instagram or Facebook, it changes. So you don't see the same things anymore, but you see it from a perspective of someone who's understanding more how the communication and the media landscape is working in this time. So I was very thankful to this opportunity, and I still am very thankful. And it actually also gives better opportunities to say that you have a master's in cross media than just to say you have a master's in linguistics, for example. So I think it's a plus, and I think these kind of cooperations are very important, whether they have challenges or not, because you see the word differently after that. Every time you go into a new field, you see the word differently. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity, and I'm very thankful to have also this opportunity to talk about this course. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Amina. I think you sum up really what also media literacy is and how to understand and look differently at media sources, at the media and at the media system.
Absolutely. And just one more note, yes. Natalie, I think it's a media literacy. So these programs that are done in cooperation with universities from North Africa or elsewhere are very important also to understand the landscape, especially that we are living in a time of political, of revolutions, of switching economies. So to have this knowledge and to have this cooperation for students, even if they are just summer schools or even if they are just short workshops, I think it's very important also to understand what's happening and to have this media knowledge and not to use the media as it is now.
I would say another invitation to cooperate, as Andrea said. So we invite all the participants who have ideas and want to cooperate on media to contact us for sure. And now we move to the scientific part. So we have with us Miguel Crespo from ISTE, so our Portuguese partner in the EUMEPLAT project. Miguel, please. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Natalie, and thank you, Andrea and Amina, for your explanation. And I think a great introduction to what we are working, what we are interested in. And I will try to share my screen. I think it is already there. I hope, yeah. So not full screen yet. Okay. Now it is. So I'm here it is a pleasure to be here, of course, sharing a small part of the outcomes that we will have in EUMEPLAT until February 24. This is a small part of the WP2 that is one of the outcomes. The others will be be shared soon, and this also. So what are we speaking about? Well, one of the challenges was to try to understand how citizens deal with journalism in the 10 countries that are part of the EUMEPLAT. And the first thing that we did was to try to understand how citizens are relevant to journalism by interacting in the platforms. So we had to start from the concept of citizen journalism that was well discussed and worked on in the early days of the 21st century. We moved to a different concept of crowdsourcing journalism that has been developing in more recent years, and of course try to understand in 2021, 22, 23 and so on what this means to the platformization of news. So our main goal is to define the citizen collaboration and interaction with journalism and with journalists. So to do this, we try to understand how citizens collaborate in journalism production, something that comes from traditional concept of citizen journalism, how citizens emulate journalistic practices in their communication activities in the platforms, and of course, how citizens use and reuse journalism in the platform. To do this, in each of these paths, we frame relevant examples from each of the countries to help to understand this relation between citizens and journalism in Europe. Just to have an idea, of course, we had a few challenges. The first one to define what journalism is, and we could stay for weeks debating this, but we try to get a simple definition of journalism. From that, what we can call citizen journalism, and of course, how we can evolve from this traditional concept of citizen journalism to crowdsourcing journalism. Then we, of course, try to frame the practices in these three areas: collaboration, emulation, and use-reuse, or remix, if you prefer. Then we did a short analysis of 29 cases from 10 European countries, 8 of them from the EU, in terms of all of this. And of course, we make some final remarks and recommendations. That is one of the goals of the project, to have knowledge to share to citizens, but also to policymakers. So looking at it. So first thing, understand. The second one, categorize, and then third thing, to present these results, and all of them organized in these three major categories of interaction, practices, and use, reuse. So to do so, and I'm going, I think we are a little bit late, so I'm going over the more theoretical part. But we had to look at journalism both as a product, a media product, and both as the content in all of these three areas. We collected these examples, and the idea, it was to ask for each of the teams in EUMEPLAT in each country to look for what they consider best practices, examples of each of the three things: collaboration, emulation, and use of reuse. A form was created so each participants could directly enter the data into a database. So we have a database with a lot of data from each of the examples that were collected. Of course, the more factual data, country, name of the project, which languages it's available in, which platforms, how can we access it, of course. A description of the project, the main themes or subject matter they were, the geographical scope. For example, we have really global projects made by citizens or with citizen collaboration, and we have hyper-local projects dedicated to a neighborhood in a European city. The main audience, of course, and each of the partners had to do a short analysis and contextualization of the project to explain why we can frame it in one of the three categories that we defined previously. So, journalism, what is journalism? Just two ideas: is a professional practice, and it's framed by ethical, deontological commitments, and of course by legal regulations that change from country to country. So when we speak about citizen journalism, we have to go back a lot of years to some ideas that relate with the connection between audiences and journalism, like the ones that NIP defined in 2006, but looking closer like to this idea of participatory journalism and mediatized audience engagement that was defined closer. So what we can define as citizen journalism? 3 stages. First, with the internet, we finally add a space without mediation, without mediators. So citizens are for the first time able to publish directly what they want. The blogs simplified all the project and took this citizen-generated content further. And as we know, social media created all the networks needed for non-mediated user-generated content to flourish. So this is the evolution and the landscape. This idea of citizen journalism is from the beginning considered one of great challenge for journalism, but what it was studied and concluded in some way is that most of the cases, the citizen journalism really doesn't produce journalism, but is a part of the journalistic process and also always involve journalists. So this idea is better defined closer in the past decade as this idea of crowdsourcing journalism. And due to social media, we can go a little further in collaboration, in sources, or using or reusing. So in terms of collaboration, we can say that it's closer to a consultation of information sources than being really a journalist. And so we cannot consider journalists all citizens that collaborate, even if they are an important part of the journalistic process and product. How this works? What we see in many countries is that media outlets invite the submission of contents, do some kind of crowdsourcing to their audiences, and then we can say that citizens' collaboration help journalists to develop their stories. But once again, citizens act more as news sources than journalists in this idea. So when we're speaking about the second framing, the emulation of journalistic practice, this is where citizens by themselves, without journalists' collaboration, produce information using, for example, techniques or formats from journalism. And what are these? They look like news stories most of the time, use journalistic reporting techniques, or sometimes they even try to fit into the ethical framework of journalism. This is a very interesting part of this citizen collaboration, because it's a way of empowering citizens to produce and control their own content, writing, publishing, delivering to the audiences or other citizens without any kind of constraint is also a way of citizen contribution to the civic community. And of course, it's done by motivated citizens to express their opinions and views of the world and of course of Europe, but also motivate other citizens to do that and to participate and to speak and give their opinions. So one of the problems here is that by emulating journalistic practices, your content looks like journalism. And it's very difficult for audiences to distinguish between professional content or citizen or alternative news media, as we prefer to consider. So, but this opens a way for professional and citizen news organizations to consider building a collaborative community reporting system, something where these motivated citizens that want to report their views of the world could work with journalists and do a better job and better explore community issues, public affairs, whatever. The third part, and I'm almost finishing, is how citizens use or reuse journalism in the platforms. The first and simpler way is clipping or reproducing traditional news media in other platforms, and we do that and we see that every day in every platform, but also to reuse this content as a source for information for communities with specific interests, being local communities, thematic communities, whatever, and doing what? Doing comments, doing remarks, or highlighting something that is relevant to that community in more general journalistic content. So, and of course, in some cases, we can even say that citizens remix that content, mixing different sources to create something partially new, or at least with a new contextual significance. So we have this broad way of doing different things. So, especially in the platforms, and that is the main space for this use, reuse, remix journalism. This idea of citizen journalism is embedded in all our life, in the community storytelling networks, and of course, citizens not only consume but also produce information using journalistic information as a base, almost like inverting the traditional source to reporter, then journalistic content. Here we start with journalistic content to have a new kind of reporting done by citizens. Of course, citizens are very connected, are very engaged. This contributes to civic outcomes. And just to finish, regardless of the term we use, the more traditional citizen journalism, participatory journalism, open source journalism, we can have a kind of a consensus in three areas. There is a will of citizens to collaborate with journalists. Citizens want to learn and put to practice the journalism principles and techniques, and citizens wish to add context to journalism. And of course, this kind of collaboration is always positive for public discussion in democratic societies. And I think that's it. And thank you very much. And I will be pleased to discuss and answer all the questions that you have. And thank you.
Thank you, Miguel, for the exhaustive overview of the huge work you have been doing in the work package 2 of the EUMEPLAT project. And now we move from citizen journalism to professional journalists. We have with us Mohammed El Hawari from Alfanar Media. Alfanar Media is a news organization, an independent news organization which focuses on education, research, and culture in the Arab countries. And Alfanar is also a media partner of UNIMED. So, Mohammed, please.
Thank you, Natalie, for this introduction, and thank you for the invitation. Thanks to the UNIMED and UNESCO. Also, I want to thank Marcello and Amina and Andrea and Miguel for their presentations. I really enjoyed everything. I will talk about how we in Alfanar Media look to this big issue, which is media and information literacy. And we will talk about our vision and what we really do with students when it comes to capacity building and to empower them with our content or for our training programs, for example. So I will share my screen. So can you see it now?
Yes, if you can put it on presentation mode.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so we will talk about how to train students to recognize fake news. We in Al-Fanar, at Al-Fanar Media, really focusing on something which is very important. We cover higher education, scientific research, culture, and arts in the Arab world. We do this in both languages, Arabic and English. We provide our audience with different kind of services, such as a database for scholarships. We verify them, we used to validate them, and to publish them when we are really so confident with that this is a right information and these scholarships are not fake, for example. And also we support the students with resources when it comes to even mental health, when it comes to the rankings of the best universities. So we give them accurate and credible information all the time. So I will talk more about our vision when it comes to media and information literacy. We look to the stakeholders. We believe that governments, NGOs, private sector, students, universities, experts, and media can play a role in supporting media and information literacy. So as you see here in this slide, media is inside or in the heart of everything. So we can connect everyone. We can connect governments to the NGOs, to the experts, to the universities, to the students, to the private sector. We need everyone to be part of this movement and this kind of collaboration when it comes to media and information literacy. So these are the main stakeholders that we look for, and we used to deal with all these stakeholders when it comes to media and information literacy. The most important thing is the recognition of roles when it comes to all these stakeholders. So sense making versus content creation. So when it comes to media and information literacy, it is more about sense making. Sense making, part of it is content creation, because everyone can be a content creator, but not everyone could be a sense maker. And this is what we really focus on. When it comes to media and information literacy, when we try to talk with the people, when we try to empower youth and empower women and academics. So it is all about sense making. We are making this kind of message that we want to deliver, and we want everyone to be part of this and to participate effectively in their communities. So the other thing is integration versus conflict. So we talk with all of our stakeholders that we can integrate our efforts to empower youth and societies. We are not in a conflict situation. So, for example, governments should know that they need to give us as a media accurate information, and when we need it, with accessibility of information, and we are not in a conflict with them. So the people must know what you are doing as a government, and also the students will be affected by a way or another. Another thing is active versus negative. Yes, we want everyone to be active and we want everyone to be participating in these kind of discussions or activities when it comes to the societies, and when it comes to the what we can say common sense. Not to be negative. We need all people to be with us when it comes to this media and information literacy movement. Another thing is what the students need versus what the students want, because many times maybe the students want everything, or maybe they want entertainment. So maybe we will give them what they really need about the accurate information about education, about the context where they live and where they participate, and we can support them with different kind of information that believe they need. And also we do this after we know the real needs of our audience, and we are really engaging with them all the time. Another thing is internationalization versus localization. So we live in a world that we are all facing maybe the same common problems and issues and challenges, just like climate change, like the skills gap. So we focus on our topics from an international perspective, that this is not only your problem or your challenge, the whole problem is facing this, and you need to be part of this international context. And we try to localize everything to the Arab countries and the Arab context and the traditions and everything related to local communities. Another thing is social responsibilities versus benefits. When it comes to the private sector, for example, we talk with the private sector that it's a part of your responsibility to be part of this force when it comes to media and information literacy, to support students, to support media, to do the right thing and to do it perfectly with ethics and standards. Yes, you are as a private sector, you look for benefits, but also one of the biggest benefits is sustainability in communities, and that you can benefit from this. So you must support our efforts when it comes to media and information literacy. Like Miguel said, we need to focus about definitions. So media and information literacy, misinformation and disinformation, fake news, citizen journalism, fact-checking. We also focus on giving all the stakeholders this kind of information and right definition, because when you have the right definition, you know what to do and it's clear for you, and your objectives could be done effectively. So this is also one of the most important things, definitions. And also critical thinking, which is what we all trying to do. So we focus on the skills gap and the problems that the whole world will be facing, losing 85 million jobs in the future by 2025, according to the World Economic Forum. And the whole world needs to skilling, reskilling, upskilling. We are giving our students this kind of information, and we are giving them resources and supporting them to get the right skills to the future jobs. We talk about what the universities do to get the right skills to their students to enter the job market after this. And credibility and transparency. This is also something important when it comes to media and information literacy. If we are all agreed about these definitions, I think we can all elaborate when it comes to students and how they can face these kind of fake news. Okay, how to start? From our point of view, it is all about the philosophy. It is all about tools, about ethics, about skills, about international cooperation, about learning, about standards, platforms, impact, strategies. So actually, we are here try to focus on what to do. Actually, we need people to be part of this media and information literacy process. Empowering them with tools and empowering them with the ethics, empowering them with skills, with doing this with trainings, learning. Maybe we will try to focus during 2023 on many kind of trainings with the universities for the students to support them. We also give trainings to scientists and researchers about how to deal with media and how to share their results with the public in appropriate way. So international cooperation also is one of the most important things. So we have this kind of ties and with good strategies and partnership with EUMEPLAT and with different organizations around the world, so as to support our efforts in training and giving and empowering the youth with the right information. Again, we need to go back to the stakeholders, but this time, and after all I said, this will be the right thing to do. So the governments, NGOs, private sector, media, universities, experts, we will all work on this together to support students and to give them trainings and to give them capacity building and to give them the information and give them the resources to know the right information and how to find and how to get the right information, how to do this kind of critical thinking about what you receive. Working all together, the NGOs and the private sector, universities, governments, and experts, and us as a media organization. We did also a lot of trainings when it comes to podcast, for example. So we had this Anglo-Arab Voices podcast. We trained students to produce their own podcast, and they interviewed some Arab figures in UK, and it was really a good season. And also we had this podcast, which the name is Student South, which means student voices, and they used to tell what they believe and what they expressing what they think about their lives, and it was really successful. And we also did this kind of trainings to scientists and journalists in cooperation with the Royal Scientific Association in Jordan and with the British Embassy in Jordan. We gave the researchers and scientists from Egypt and from Jordan tools to deal with media and to deal with social media, to create their own content when it comes to their own research and to give the results to the public. We are trying to do this kind of connection, and we are trying to join the forces to support students and youth. This is what we really believe, and this is what we really think we can really support students to face this fake news. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Mohammed. It was a really inspiring intervention, and we have a hope for the future and for the new generation. So I don't know if I think there are no questions, but I invite the audience to ask or to comment what they have heard till now. We have a couple of minutes, so there is still a small space. Or if any one of the speakers wants to add something to what we have said until now. We have now some people asking for the floor. So let's see. Okay. Hello. We have the participant was Hab Mergaed. Do you want to take the floor?
Hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
Thank you for this wonderful meeting. I am Ihab Mujahid. I am Assistant Professor of Mass Communication Broadcasting, Alexandria University, Egypt. I am a member of the EUMEPLAT sub-network for journalism. If you are still familiar, Natalie, we've been in touch, I think, through the email lately.
Yes.
I am now working for the Sultan Qaboos University in Sultanate of Oman in Gulf. So I am very pleased to participate, and it was wonderful intervention about media literacy. I just want to raise an issue concerning the media literacy in Middle East, because we have in Sultan Qaboos University a very good experience since we established a separate curriculum for media literacy, and it is becoming a obligatory course. Then we were aiming to make it obligatory course for all the fields in the university. Then we had to start being elective course, and it is now I think this semester it is the second semester to apply the course with Dr. Fatim Billaga. She is our colleague in the mass Communication Department at College of Art and Social Science in Sultan Qaboos University. So it is wonderful. The other thing is we are dealing with master's students and PhD students and encouraging them to study and research in media literacy. But what I want to add that, as a matter of fact, what I face as a personal experience, especially in Egypt, somehow in some Gulf countries, when we speak about media literacy, there is a little bit resistance from the students, maybe misconception of media literacy. Maybe they think it is some kind of regulating the way I don't want to say that it is censorship or something like that, but they are thinking, some of them think or thought or maybe discussed with me that what is the benefit, because in a way or another you are trying to limit my experience. Of course, media literacy is not about regulation or censorship at all, but it is this kind of discourse which we face at the very beginning of getting people to register for the course. And of course, they after they finish, we have skills that we apply to the students to measure the development of media literacy of these students, and they are becoming well informed about the different issues of fact-checking and stuff like that. So we might, I just want to shed light on the issue about the misconception of the role of media literacy, especially in Middle East countries, and how this course not becoming limiting the freedom of the students. Instead, it is empowerment for the students. Thank you very much, and thank you for your guests.
Thank you, Ahab. Andrea Miconi. I think we should talk and share our experience. I would ask Uli and Natalie if you can take care of this. We can arrange maybe a meeting. Ahab, is that okay for you?
Yes,
with
of course.
With you and Alfanar, and so we'll share our experiences, because there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm really look forward to it.
I am pleased also for the cooperation with Alfanar, and I just published an article about the challenges of media education in Middle East, especially in the new era of artificial intelligence. It was just published like a week ago or something. So yes, of course, with pleasure.
Okay, thanks, Natalie, for that.
Thank you. We have another person who has the raised hand. I don't know if we can stay a couple of minutes more. Are we available? Okay, so I will give the floor to Ramzieh Shahini.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Ramzieh Shahini Hoxha. I'm professor at the Journalism Department of University of Pristina in Kosovo. I'm very glad you have organized this session. It was so informative, and I really liked the discussion. I will come back to some of the people that were part of this discussion for sure. I just wanted to ask you, maybe Amina, the girl who was part of this e-media master degree program, what do the graduates from this master degree do actually? How do they get into the media market, or what is their professional outcome of this from this degree? I would like to know more about that.
Thank you, Ramzi, for noting this. Actually, the master's is now in its 5th or 4th edition already. And talking from my own university in Sousse, all of the students actually are working. In fact, recently, one of the professors have created a group and contacted all the graduates from the different promotions and asked them to this specific questions: what are your professions now? And this is just to show that there is a high turnout in the University of Sousse for this master's, and that all students, basically 90% of them, have jobs, whether in radios, whether as reporters. Some of them work at embassies. So I can proudly say that most of these students that are that they had an undergraduate discipline that it's totally different from journalism and communication, and persuaded communication literacy, have jobs and have been successful to merge what they have been learning before and now, linguistics or whatsoever in the past, with media. And most of them are working as journalists in radios, in TV. Some of them I have connection with them at embassies, communication officers as myself right now. So yes, most of them are doing this, and this is thanks to the also the fact that the professors been trying to really implement them in field work, making them visit national TVs and radios to understand more how it works, and to also for the students to understand what they would like to do with this very broad topic such as media. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Mohammed, do you want to reply?
Yes, thank you, Ramzi, for this question. Actually, for myself, I'm teaching TV production skills to master degrees students in the Faculty of Mass Communication in Cairo University. This kind of collaboration between the universities and the professionals when it comes to media and when it comes to media production is already there in the Arab world. Maybe it is not updated in some countries, but actually when it comes to this kind of connection, it is already there. And we give the students, and we are also giving the TAs in the universities all the knowledge they need, all the tools that they need, and we make it all practical and with final project and with jury when you can come and to evaluate this projects from a professional perspective, all in parallel with the academic and theoretical part in the universities. And this is what we really in Al-Fanar, at Al-Fanar believe, that we can do this, we can all collaborate together to support students and youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was really very important for me to understand the way that you collaborate with each other. And I'm pretty sure that I will get back to you, because we as a university, we are very much interested to get involved in such projects. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you. I have one last person, and then we will close. So Alban Tartari, please.
Okay, I don't have a question, just a short comment and remark, just to thank you for organizing this event. I'm Alban Tartari from the Department of Journalism and Communication, University of Tirana in Albania. And I found very interesting the insights and the ideas that the colleagues from different countries are giving in here. And as Ramzi said previously, yes, we are interested on going on to see what we can do together and to learn more and to share more in further meetings of yours that we are welcoming. Thank you very much.
May I jump in, Natalie? We'll have a meeting with UNIMED about the next calls. So we'll check the European calls, and the Balkans is an area where many things can be done. So I think you will hear from us in the next future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think we are over. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for your participation, and thanks also to the audience. And we will have for sure similar initiatives in the future. We are moving on the media and journalism sector, and we will have, let's hope, also new projects. So thank you again, and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you.
good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.